It's a pleasure for us at City Times to have you talking about ZEE5 original Mee Raqsam. Yeah.
Thank you.
And my first question would be: this is the first movie you're presenting, and it's a movie which is supposedly very close to your heart. So, are you excited about it? Can you tell us more about the movie?
Well, firstly, Mee Raqsam, which means I dance, is the first film that my brother, Baba Azmi, who's been an extremely successful DOP, director of photography of many mainstream Hindi films, is directing. And it is the first film that I am presenting. It is a film that I love. I think it's a beautiful little gem. And it tells the beautiful story of a humble tailor's support, unstinted support for his daughter's passion to dance the Bharatnatyam. And this earns the ire of the community. And yet he stands up against all odds to support his daughter. So at one level, it's a film about a father's unstinted support for his daughter. At another level, it also deals with more complex issues about celebrating India's pluralism, her diversity, her composite culture, and about how it is important to stand up against obscurantism of all hues. Because really, obscurantism of any religion is a mirror image of the other. And that's why I think it's a very important film. On my father, Kaifi Azmi's birth centenary, Baba decided to make his first film in Mijwa, in Azamgarh, in the little village in which my father was born, and continued to work for the empowerment of the girl child till the end of his days. Mijwa Welfare Society was founded by my father, and I have been carrying on his work after he passed away. Little Aditi Subedi has been born and brought up in Mijwa. The fact that she plays the protagonist today has opened up the doors for Mijwa's girls who are suddenly, aspiring for bigger things in life rather than just get married and look after children. So it has opened up new pathways, and Aditi has become a role model for the girls, which makes me very happy, and I'm sure that Kaifi Sahab would have been very, very happy too.
What, according to you, would be the takeaway for the audience when they watch this film?
And the fact that they have watched a small film with a very big heart, and that you are very moved by the film. It's a little nugget. It's really a little gem. But at many levels, you also see many other things in the film, because the father, as he is played by Danish Hussain, as he's been written by Hussain Mir Ali and Baba, is, in today's day, we see a lot of toxicity in masculinity. Masculinity is about power and guns and muscle power and things like that. Salim, the father, is a very gentle person, and even when he stands up against the big leaders of his community, he does that with what should I say, a gentle but firm resoluteness, which is very attractive. In the process, he becomes the father and mother to the girl. And so, in a sense, is redefining masculinity. That it's not the toxic masculinity, but it is about having the yin and the yang perfectly balanced. And it's about softening the edges, and also masculinity can be redefined as being gentle and supportive and sensitive. That to me is very, very important.
Shabana, this movie is basically about a father support to the girl child. What about your own experience when you first wanted to take up acting? How did your father support you?
I remember very clearly that when I told him where I was sitting in the lawn of his little cottage in Janki Kutir. I said, Abba, I want to become an actress. Will you support me? And he looked at me with such love and he said, I will support you in anything you decide to do. Tomorrow, if you want to become a mochi, if you want to become a shoemaker, I will support you in that also, provided you tell yourself that you will try your best to become the best mochi, the best shoemaker in the business. So to have that kind of unconditional support from him just gave me so much strength and so much courage. And I think it's so important for parents to do that for their children. And that's exactly what Salim Mirza does for his daughter Mariam in the film.
Shabana, you and Nasir have a very, very long connection. Nasiruddin Shah. You were one of the pioneers of New Wave cinema. And now you've teamed up with him again. How was it on the sets with Nasir?
Well, Nasir actually in those days was suffering from a very, very bad back. And at one time he was laying flat in bed and we didn't even know whether he would be able to make it to the shooting. And we were very, at least I was personally very concerned because the entire shooting had been arranged around Aditi's schooling because she's only 15 years old at that time. And so we couldn't afford to change the dates. But Baba had almost a Zen-like belief that Abba's blessings were with us and it would happen. And Nasir actually made that long journey and then was so warm and so supportive of Baba. He has known Baba for many, many years, as when Baba was a DOP and he was an actor in a film called Wo Saat Din, and after that in Bezuban and things like that. But what really strikes me about Nasir's performance is that he has played the exact opposite of the character that he is in real life. Nasir is a very liberal, progressive man. And here he plays a really hard-nosed, obscurantist man who is, he looks so pasty in the film that you almost feel as if his pores are oozing out the meanness from him. And I find that very fascinating that actors have this ability to be able to be so convincing in playing characters that they absolutely despise in real life. And that he has done beautifully, and that's what strengthens the film.
Shabana, talking about new wave cinema, meaningful cinema, the content was strong and it was very realistic. Are you liking the way content is being showcased these days by the younger generation of filmmakers?
Oh yes, absolutely. Because very many changes have happened. First, you have to say that the OTT platform is giving many chances to films like Mee Raqsam to be premiered, because Mee Raqsam would have had, if were it a theatrical release, it would have just had a very small release with none of the wherewithal that is required to promote a film. And it might have got lost in the din, but at the click of one button, 190 countries are watching it. And the OTT platform has definitely brought into focus the fact that content is king. And so different stories, different faces are being looked at. Now, within the mainstream cinema, the advent of the casting director has changed the ecosystem, because the casting director is now pulling out people from hinterlands, from small towns, from the back of beyond, from theatre, etc. And these people are doing such deep-rooted, realistic work that is sort of changing the bandwidth for the mainstream actors who feel, oh my God, we have to live up to them because the ecosystem has changed. So if you would look at it, about 10 years ago, it was perfectly possible that you would play a rock star and not even know how to play the chords of a guitar. You just strum the guitar and people would believe that you are a rock star. Today, nobody would accept that from you. So you have to learn entire skill sets. Also because actors are doing only one film at a time, then they can afford to change their body type, they can learn a skill, they can really get into their roles. It's almost like giving the kind of concentrated time to it like you would do in theatre. That ecosystem, I think, is a good time, particularly for senior actors, because this is the first time that senior actors are getting really meaningful roles, whether it is men or women. I'm very happy. I mean, I'm working in a production of Steven Spielberg called Halo. I'm working with Nikhil Advani in Mughals. I'm doing a short story called Sheer Korma by Faraz Ansari. So they're completely different things that I am doing, which I enjoy very much.
Shabana, what you're saying is that OTT has increased the scope for actors in terms of work and in terms of challenging roles. But what about theatre? You've been very close to theatre. Now with this pandemic coming in, theatre also has been affected. What are your views? Will it pick up? And if so, how can it sustain and survive during the pandemic?
Different things have been trying. Like for instance, a theatre has approached me to do a play in which they think that it will have to be shot. So it'll be available to a larger audience. But when you're shooting a play, filming a play, I should say, then you have to be careful that you don't really shoot it like a film. Because in a film, you see a close-up, you see a mid-shot, you see a long shot, you see different things. In theatre, it's just one frame that you're constantly seeing. And people are on stage all the time. So there will be different skill sets that will be required. But rather than have no theatre at all, if this is a way that we can sort of fill in the blanks till the pandemic is behind us, at least we're getting a chance. And so what will happen then is, because of these new demands, I really hope that it will lead to a lot of new writing in theatre. Because in theatre, writing is everything. And so perforce the situation will make you look at situations anew. And I hope there will be some exciting theatre because of that.
Okay, talking about roles, Shabana, you have always, whatever roles you have played in movies, whether commercial or parallel cinema, the roles are very, very strong. So do you consciously pick up roles, or you just read the script and get into it, kind of?
Of course I read the script, but basically I have said no to a lot of films in which women were seen as second-grade citizens, or the script endorsed the fact that that's what women should be. They should be kept in their places. Or if the film had a message of hate and of dividing society or historical untruths, then of course it's something that I have said no to all along. Because I grew up in an atmosphere where it was believed that art should be used as an instrument for social change, and that art has the capacity to create a climate of sensitivity in which it is possible for change to occur. So I remember so many years ago when we did a film called the distributors at that time said it's a beautiful film, but the end is completely unacceptable, because imagine an Indian woman saying no to her husband after he is apologizing to her. It won't be accepted. And we held our ground and we said, no, this is the reason we're making the film. And the film became a cult film. And 40 years later, people are still talking about the film. And thereby started really the changing of the Indian film heroine as somebody who is her own person and makes her own decision. And today, even in mainstream cinema, in Hindi, you see that the heroines are not just props. For one, the change is that they are working girls. which to me is very important because Indian women work, whether they're in rural areas or in urban areas. But if you looked at Hindi cinema 10, 15 years ago, you would believe that all that Indian women only wore yellow chiffon saris and danced in the Alps. But that is now changing. The girls are their own persons. So I think that's also happening because a lot of female actors are realizing that there's a lot of traction in getting a really meaty role. And so they're making themselves available for it. So I welcome that.
And you think like, traditionally you needed a hero to have a box office hit. So what you're saying is now is the time when women can also create the difference and give box office hits.
Well, ultimately, if there is a space that is being negotiated at the moment by women, but it will all depend on how commercially successful these movies are. So there is a responsibility that the audience also shares here. You cannot say that, oh, this is all rubbish, and then watch it and keep watching it so much that the coffers of the producers keep filling up, and then not go and see movies which are trying to be different, which are trying to tell different stories, that are working without stars. You would need some support from the audience. So I think it's a two-way relationship. We can't say escape by saying, oh, the audiences only want this. And audiences can't escape by saying one thing and doing the other. So if we want the quality of films to improve, we have to buy tickets for those films. Same with theatre, same with classical music.
One last question. You have seen obviously the ups and downs in the Indian film industry. You've been practically there for more than 4 decades now. So recently there's a lot of mudslinging and debates on. What are your thoughts on this?
I think this too shall pass, because one thing about hate is that it attracts a lot of attention, but after a while you get tired of it and then it changes. So I think this too shall pass. It's very unpleasant whilst it's happening, because the industry is a sitting duck for everybody. So why are the same questions asked of people from other professions? Why is it only the film industry that is being targeted? But on the other hand, I think we need to have a more mature look at it, because see, we get so much love, that we also have to be prepared to take breakbacks. You can't only say sab acha acha mera aur sab bura aapka. Aisa nahi ho sakta na. You have to then, people should be able to express their opinion. My problem is that I don't think it is their genuine opinion. I think they're doing it with an agenda, and that is sad, because you are taking refuge in anonymity. That is sad, but inshallah it shall pass.
Shabana, before we sign off, a message for your fans, and why should people watch Mee Raqsam?
Well, firstly, I think in the pandemic, what has become most prominent is that arts come to your rescue in times that are difficult. During the pandemic, we have been able to retain our sanity because we've been consuming a lot of content on movies, theatre. We've been reading a lot. We've been listening to a lot of music. All of it that is rounding up, softening the edges for us. So there is a great value to having art and a respect for the arts in our lives. And I think the fact that art should become as much an integral part of your education as academics or sports, I think that's very important, because you cannot, not expose children to any kind of different art, whether it's classical music or classical theater or classical literature or classical music, movies, and then suddenly at age 21 expect that they're going to have this immaculate taste. Because a rounded personality today, and that is becoming more and more evident, that education cannot only be about academics. It has to be about a love for sports, about a love for the arts, because it's an all-rounded personality that you need to cope with the demands of the new world we are living in.
Thank you so much, Shabana, for talking to us. It's been a pleasure. And we wish you all the best for your movie. And
thank you. So Mee Raqsam, so the question you asked me is, why should you watch Mee Raqsam? You watch Mee Raqsam. Mee Raqsam because it's a heartwarming tale. It's a beautiful tale, and it's also a story about David and Goliath. Because this humble tailor is standing up against the Goliaths of his community and managing to overcome the hurdles that come in his way because he wants to support his daughter. It also celebrates the worker, the tailor, the common man, and has at its center its heart at the right place. It offers hope and it elevates. So it's something that you must watch. I promise you, you won't be disappointed.
Thank you so much, Shabana. All the best.
Thank you.